That did it. Here, help me pull it open. You take that side. Jack, hold on. Before we go out there, listen. That shell you're in now, that's the only one of you there is.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris here with Shughead Gaming, and here's my review for Lone Echo 2, a continuation of the prior game, where you once again play as Jack the android alongside your friend Captain Olivia Rhodes. Guys, the first Lone Echo was a narrative-based zero-G visual feast when it launched 4 years ago, and in a bittersweet way, we now have the sequel to that game, though it also marks the end, at least for now, of Oculus-developed PC-only titles. Was it worth the wait? Stick around, and I'll tell you. As always guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button, leave a comment, and hopefully by the end of this video, I will have earned your subscription. And yeah, hit that bell icon. One more thing, I have a Patreon guys, so if you want to support the channel further, I've changed it to a single $2 tier to keep things simple, affordable, and unsponsored. Okay, let's talk graphics. Okay, well, right off the top, we are getting into the single most divisive issue you are likely to hear from various content creators who have had review access, as from what I can tell after reaching out to half a dozen people. When it comes to the performance of Lone Echo 2, results can vary. Essentially, my main issue here is the performance. As for me, it was incredibly up and down depending on where I was in the game, primarily dropping frames when I would turn around with the thumbstick, and at times the game seeming to get bogged down and then simply not bouncing back from it until I rebooted the whole game. And this is on a 3080. Which in itself could be the culprit, as it has been known to cause issues due to bottlenecking with the CPU. However, talking to others, some seem to be having the same issues, while others aren't. Some found the link cable on the Quest was an issue, and instead used AirLink or Virtual Desktop to get better performance. This, however, did not affect my experience. Additionally, some have reported the game crashing, something I also experienced when playing with the graphical settings, which are thankfully very robust. Ultimately, I think this may be a Quest 2 issue, as it sounds like those using the Rift or another headset using Revive are not having these issues. But really, when it all comes down to it, it would appear that Lone Echo 2 could possibly have used another delay in order to optimize it better across the board. For surprisingly and disappointingly, when I jumped back into the first Lone Echo, not only did it run beautifully on max settings, it also showed to simply be a better looking game than the sequel currently is, with much sharper edges and textures throughout, including Dr. Rhodes herself. Jumping back into Lone Echo 2, it seems that it may have some more sophisticated lighting going on, but then I also noticed that I could see texture detail loading in on some surfaces as I approached them, something I didn't experience on the first. And I'll tell you, the conspiracy theorist in me suspects that Ready at Dawn may have been developing this game with a Quest port in mind, then scaled the game up for PC, as the first game is simply a better looking game. However, all my nitpicking aside, and assuming they can stabilize those frame rate issues, Lone Echo 2 is still one of the best looking VR games ever made, and is a sheer testament to not only what PC VR is capable of, but also, and maybe sadly, where it already was 4 years ago. I mean truly, both Lone Echo 1 and 2 rival some Hollywood sci-fi movies when it comes to set design and art style, never mind the insane motion capture work that simply craps all over what is seen in even the most recently released Far Cry 6. Getting up close with Dr. Rhodes and going eye to eye is easily one of the most incredible VR experience I have had to date, and was downright surreal. And going from micro to macro, the set pieces here in Lone Echo 2 are significantly larger and more varied than the first, certainly giving this game a more epic sense of scale. And if you've never played the first game, you will likely be blown away here in Lone Echo 2 with little reservation. Unfortunately though, you really should go play the first game prior to jumping into the second, so that may be unavoidable. Though, that being said, the first Lone Echo came out so long ago in terms of VR headset tech that for many VR veterans, they will be probably coming to Lone Echo 2 with the first being something that they played on an old Rift and at 2/3 of the resolution of today's headsets, and the graphical settings lowered. So I'm sure this game is going to impress regardless. Sound is up next.
Well, what do you think? Bit of a step up, wouldn't you say?
Practically anything would be an improvement over your old Chronos suit.
What makes you say that?
Well, for a start, this suit isn't being held together by duct tape.
Yeah, well, give it time.
Straight up, Lone Echo 2, like its predecessor, is a sonic masterpiece in audio design that sounds like it had a lot of time and money spent on it, and likely did. Music here in Lone Echo 2 is sparse but epic when it arises, though by being absent much of the time, we're allowed to really take in the nuances of the audio design here, listening to the hum of the space station and the ship, and all the intricacies going on around you. And with the game's excellent use of 3D audio, you truly do feel immersed, or should I say enveloped, by the world around you. Voice work again is incredible here, and honestly, how could it not with talent like Troy Baker and Alice Coulthard, reprising their roles as Echo 1 and Dr. Rhodes, with the latter also being the spitting image of her real-life self. Honestly, I don't really know what else to say other than this is AAA audio design through and through, and truly benchmark stuff for future VR games to hold themselves to. And that brings us to gameplay. Starting right off, if you haven't played Lone Echo 1, I highly recommend you go back and play that one. It's $10 right now on the Oculus Store, and that's about 75% off the original price, so it's a steal. But besides being a great deal, Lone Echo 2 is narratively a connected sequel, so you will really want to know what happened in the first and create the relationships between the two main characters before jumping into Part 2. Now yes, Part 2 will give you a quick summary, but as someone who actually didn't play the first before going into the second, I definitely felt like I was out of the loop, and I proceeded to jump back to the first game and play them in order for this review. And trust me, you want to. This is especially true with a game series like Lone Echo, as it is the story and character relationships that are an essential part of why Lone Echo 1 and 2 work. For outside of the narrative, the game really is little more than a series of fetch quests and basic do this to open or turn on that type of scenarios. Well, that and the fact that it happens in the insanely great looking game world that Ready at Dawn have created, and uses one of the most polished and fun zero-G locomotion systems I've ever tried in VR. Games like the free ISS simulator on the Quest, Detached, and Downward Spiral all did zero-G to various levels of success, but Lone Echo certainly takes those to a new level, due largely in part to its level design that makes navigating the game world with finesse a skill to master all on its own, and almost worth the price of admission alone. Armed with small thrusters on each arm for small adjustments, most of your movement will be done by pushing and pulling off objects, or off Dr. Rhodes herself, whose reactions to you getting closer, shining your headlamp in her eye, are what I love to see in NPC behavior design. And honestly, it's a good thing the movement is so great in Lone Echo, as it honestly kept me entertained while I waited for the game to tell me what to do next so I could advance the story. For while you are often asked to choose among a few responses to certain characters' inquiries, I never felt like I was making an impact with either the story or the character I was talking to, resulting in making me feel at times like I was simply going through the paces. But like I said, you really are here for the story and the experience of being in the world rather than the gameplay itself. Though I must say, while this lack of depth to the gameplay might have gotten a pass 4 years ago, based simply on the polish and quality of what type of games we were getting into headsets, I can't help but feel like Ready at Dawn played it very safe here and could have pushed the series forward with some new ideas and game mechanics. For besides giving you a few new tools to play around with, Lone Echo 2 often feels like just more of the same. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing given the pedigree of the series, I still found myself wanting more, as this second installment has a tendency to feel and look a bit too samey for much of its 6 to 8 hour playtime. Now this might go without saying, but for those with weaker VR legs, proceed with caution here. Yes, there is a click turning in comfort settings, but this is a game all about gliding through zero-G, so don't expect any teleportation options. In fact, for those like myself who are looking for the most extreme experience you can even turn on the ability to adjust your pitch and roll by using the 2 analog sticks. It's not quite as hardcore as Detached in Pro mode, but it sure was a rush. Finally, Lone Echo 2 can be played either seated or standing, and only requires a moderate to small amount of room. And that brings me to fun factor, my final review. Being a made-for-PC VR title with a big production budget, not to mention a sequel to a game held by many as one of the best VR games ever made, to say expectations were high seems needless to say. And yes, you can tell Lone Echo 2 had a lot of money and time put behind it, but I think it could have used a little more time, as the game crashes and performance issues tell the story of a game that might have benefited from a little more optimization. Regardless though, Lone Echo 2 is more of what you loved from the first title, and in fact, narratively picks up right where the first title ended. In fact, with how similar this game looks and feels to the first, to me, It almost feels like Lone Echo 1.5 rather than a full-blown sequel, though that's not necessarily a bad thing if you loved the first one. Now, you guys may know I hate numbered review scores and instead rate games on a basis of buy it, burn it, or wait on it. At $40, Lone Echo 2 is at the higher end of the price spectrum for VR games, but given the AAA quality on display here, it's easily justified. However, given you have played and enjoyed the first, just keep in mind that performance may vary until the game sees a few stability patches, so just know that, and keep the Oculus refund policy in mind before you hit that purchase button. Now, if you haven't played the first game yet, like I said, it's $10 and a steal, especially since first-party Oculus games rarely go on sale, never mind a deep sale like this. So I strongly recommend you play that first and see if you want more, as that is exactly what this is. And on that note, if you're someone who played the first title and it didn't do anything for you, this will not change your mind. Anyway, in closing, this is a weird time for PC VR, as this is to be the last PC-only title that Oculus plans to put into production, and given that we simply haven't seen games in the same league as Lone Echo, Stormland, or Asgard's Wrath in the current batch of Oculus-published Quest titles, the future of AAA quality titles from Oculus themselves seems to be a huge question mark. I guess only time will tell, but in the meantime, let's enjoy this one. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the series and my review, and consider subscribing. As always, guys, I'll catch you on the next video.